Well, hello everyone. Here is to the South Providence Road at Medical Park. It's like you talk about, say, also known as like a center, culinary activity right here. If most of us were able to look at that, go to the South Providence Road at Medical Park Center that you see, right off of it's like in between. You see Providence Road right across the street from Rockbridge High School, though. But I went ahead and posted like I say like a little, just like detoured like scenery. It's like a video, of course, on my page, but on YouTube. But you see right here is I went ahead and drew like say a kind of example of say the medical park, and basically though that what I had described right here is I went ahead and colored in that right here is like with green and. I have some crayons here. I'm like whenever I went to the doctor's appointment there a couple times that they had it to where that I'm like they a lot of things for kids, and I could tell anybody here that really about that if anybody asked me, I'm like, would you like to maybe entertain some kids with some of your artistic work, and really that knowing about, I'm like it's possible depending on what kids that they are that knowing about if they are really interested in any of the work that I'm doing, of course. But on the other hand, anybody any patients that are there, if they have to see the doctor because if they're if they're sick or something like that, or if they need to have a checkup done or anything like that knowing about, I'm like they're not there ain't no arcade in there or anything like that. It's like I guess it's not really a building to where you can go in there and just not like the mall. I guess it's not really like the mall to where you go in there and then you look around, do some shopping, and watch TV, whichever that you want to do. Have some entertainment, but. But on the other hand, that anybody that may say, I'm like, if you were to be going to the hospital, the doctor, let's just say that, if there was any type of a nurseries or any buildings where they have nurseries to where that if there was anybody that was getting ready to give birth to a kid or anything like that, any pregnant women in it, or if like anybody that had any type of medical issue that was going on, that knowing about the types of entertainment that they would have for most patients though. But most of us have seen before is that the building right here is that you have right here is like the windows would be kind of like this right here. It's like if this was be like say on the south or east part say of the building or north part, and further down it would be like say another parking lot right back in here of cars to where that they will be parked, and I'm like had some there's I guess I didn't add all the details from like say the east side and of course the west side and north side and south side, those type all that other details that between it'll be like the Stadium and Providence Road that it will be connected right here. Like I say, you got there here's the traffic light, and then State Farm Insurance, and it'd be about say right here. But I could tell anybody here that this was back in August last year that I can remember that walking to work, especially around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I can remember seeing that this medical park, and I can tell anybody here that the first time I walked into that building, I can remember that it was like it seemed like that it was a brand new building, and it's kind of a interesting knowing about that whenever it was under construction. I can tell anybody here that I walked past this building whenever it was under construction those couple of times, and I can remember it was around middle of August it was, so there was not too many lights around the building. I'm like that they didn't have no power around the building probably until about mid November, something like that. That they like mid-November. I'm like that. I'm trying to think. Probably around mid-December. I'm like that a couple times that I can remember that they were building one part. It's like from part of the building I've seen that they had built that usually was like say if it was like which goes like the north side of the building, and then it gone to and then working towards the back part of it, and then whenever that was under construction, and then it was in a parking lot. And of course I only have a few colors right here, but I can go ahead and draw some details right here. It's like for the parking lot, and like with anybody that may say, I'm like, well, where's the cars? And then of course you say if the ambulance, they have like say for medical. And so I'm like, yeah. I'm also thinking about how much time I have to, while working on this as well. But you have right here is the road, and then of course right here is like a parking lot right here. You draw right here the lines. It's like if this was like a parking lot, and basically that with this new medical building, if most of us have been there, anybody who lives on the side of Columbia, knowing about that, if you were driving from Moberly or somewhere like that, and then visited this new medical center, and basically that I can remember driving by and walking by the building whenever it was under construction, and I can just remember though that thinking that whenever I was taking a quick look at it while it was under construction and knowing about it, just looks like something that a type of a building under construction that it looks quite different, and knowing about the fact that they don't have no power, especially at night, and then knowing about that really that I'm sure that it's going to be kind of an interesting building whenever you first take a tour through it. And I've been inside the building, and I tell you what, after I was getting off work, I actually walked into the building, just to kind of get a tour through it, and basically that they pretty much said that this was like a relocation to our new building, because before, whenever I went to the doctor, that usually that they headed to where that they were in this they were off of Green Meadows Clinic it was. So it's like if you say or something like that, Green Meadows Clinic, but basically that you have right here's the lights, and I can right here will be is the windows right here, and let's just say that I can go ahead and use the blue right here. That there will be see here the main floor, but then this right here there will be like say a second floor at about right here, the second floor, and then there will be say an X-ray center. On the top floor. I'm like, I can tell anybody here. I took some pictures, of course, of the inside too, but not too many. I was just thinking though that I don't know if everybody really wants to be on camera, so I just like to kind of just draw out some of the details from what I remember seeing, from from the medical center. But you have right here, like on the top floor right here, is you have right here is like say an X-ray center, and then there could be like what you say is another type of a lab like X-ray, like the X-ray, and then they could also have like maybe the vision center. They may have like something maybe kind of like you say the vision center. That like talk about having their own. Whenever I was in there, that it looked like to me that they had like a few of their own labs to where if you want to have an X-ray done or echocardio, it's like Partigo scan or something like that. They had like say like their own area to where they had a few tests done. It is, and but basically though that I can go ahead and use right here is the red or see here the blue. I'm like if I I'm like usually that there's a parking lot. Say I think on the other side too, but I'm trying to think here. I'm like anybody probably think about one is for employees and. The other parking lot could be, it's like for the patients. But on the other hand, that you have right here is for this medical building right here. And I can go ahead and draw a car right here as like if there was a patient visiting. But anyway, but I would probably say though, like the type of dream that I would like to have, and knowing about for ways. I'm like if you were to actually get sick and then have to go to the doctor, or knowing about that they have it to where like anything that's like done like talk about say besides for special effects, and knowing about like that if you if anybody were like my definition for special effects, and knowing about I'm like that basically effects it which you can do normally on paper, but if I were to be doing like say artwork about this, and knowing about I'm like that the type of website I'm knowing about that I don't know if every medical center would have a website online to where you can actually go to it and actually visit their website, and if you want to book an appointment, book an appointment, and then know about for what doctor, and know about how more much how simple it is, know about what can be done about a mobile device, maybe about the size of a calculator, and about what could be done for, like, say, the purpose about from your medical appointment. But you see right here is I went ahead and drew right here is the details right here. I say the medical building. I can go in and add right here is the details right here for the sky. But basically the whole purpose about that with this drawing right here is that analysis for this medical building. Know that with most medical labs, that I could tell anybody here that when I was young, that I was a lot of times I didn't really like going to the doctor, and I can tell anybody here that whenever you go to the doctor, a lot of times it just seems like that you try to live a healthy life, such as you want to a lot of times that if it's doctors or dentists, a lot of times that they may say that going to a doctor seems like it's never really exciting, such as like if you had to have blood work done, or any type of checkup, you're at the doctor's because you're not feeling very well, stuff like that. And a lot of times at the doctor's offices, I can remember going to in St. Charles at a lot of times, or if it was in St. Peter's, that they have it to where that they would play like Disney movies and stuff like that, and on the other hand, they have stuff in there for the kids to play with. It's like if you're in there in the doctor's because you got sick or something like that, they would have movies for the kids to watch, or play area for the kids to play in while until they went to go visit the doctor and make an appointment and stuff like that. But on the other hand, that anybody would probably say about with kids though, that going to the doctors, if people say that do you think that it will be easy to try to get the kid to go to the doctors just because that they want to see that they like their doctor, that maybe that they want to know about any information about I'm like, yeah, that for any type of vitamins, it's like for their favorite juice or something like that. Anybody probably say about, yeah, and trying to get their kids to take their vitamins, and then trying to get their kids to take their medicine if they get sick or something like that. But anybody could probably say about if you have ever broken a bone or twisted your ankle or anything like that, and that knowing about if you had to wear a cast for any reason, that knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that reasons to why you would have to go see the doctor, and that's not very fun, etc., etc. But I'm going to go ahead and draw right here using the charcoal. Is go ahead and use some details right here. Draw some details right here of the fountain. And you have right here is a fountain right here. And with this fountain, I'm going to go ahead and draw some details right here, for like this fountain right here, like say in black and white, and I do like some shades of black and white right here using the charcoal. And with the charcoal though, that I'm going to show right here is like is this fountain right here, with this fountain, and with this fountain that if you want to go ahead and if I want to go ahead and use a variety right here of like see here, instead of erasing, I'm just going to kind of blend it in with my fingers and blend with my thumb, just kind of blend in a little bit of the coloring, and like with anybody that may say I'm like the eraser that may show a little bit too. But on the other hand, knowing about knowing about how to keep the paper steady, and then for whatever they like anybody to say that this is not no clay to where you can actually change the shape of it, the forms like for what you're working with. But anyway, but you have right there is like I can go ahead and use the scratch and wash pencil 2 to go ahead and add some details right here for the fountain. Anybody say that especially at night, that this fountain right here, that exactly about that knowing about with the fountain, the fountain that could present, it's like for the construction, to say, of the building, and knowing just to make the building look nice, if they want to go ahead and maybe plant some flowers. I'm sure that anybody probably say about that with the building, that right now, that since there's not too much grass, from whenever it was under construction, that there's not too much flowers and plants and grass, fresh grass growing there, because from how that whenever it was under construction, and then on the other hand, that for especially in the back that from whenever it was under construction, that a lot of the things a lot of the plants and stuff like that are still sprouting out. But I go ahead and draw right here a little bit of detail right here. Is like for this pond, right? This lake right here. And, I guess you call it the fountain. I guess more likely it would be known as, like say, as a fountain right here. But then that's in pencil. That right there will be like say in pencil, and then if I want to go ahead and add a little bit of blue right here, a blue marker right here, and like that a little bit of blue right there. And if I want to go ahead, I used a different kind of blue, but but then go ahead and add a little bit of blue right here. But anyway, like with anybody that may say that a lot of times blue usually means it's like maybe for water, like for water. But if you want to go ahead and do say an outline, outline for like say that represents the river, and then if you want to go ahead and use maybe a different tone marker for that, or if I want to go ahead and switch back to like say is the sketch and wash, or if it's the 2H pencil, add some detail right here, for the fountain right here. But anyway, but you have right here is this fountain right here, and like with anybody that may think that that nowadays with the doctor's appointments, that having your own capability to where if you want to go ahead and book an appointment, that you would be able to do that maybe on your smartphone or on your iPhone, or online, stuff like that. But on the other hand, knowing about the types of paperwork that I tell anybody here that now they have it to where if you were to actually provide your information, such as your insurance cards and stuff like that, that they would you print out the type of information such as sign here, and then they would print say on the back of the page, stuff like that. But I really just think though that I think that's pretty neat, and knowing about all done, a lot of that stuff that's done electronically, and in a lot of ways that if we could probably think about our signature that looks like Sloppy Joe, I'm like that well, you don't want to know what my signature looks like, because there may be a K in somebody's name, and that don't look like a K, or that there may be a Z or a T inside the first or last name, something like that, and like, well, I don't like it. But on the other hand, I don't know if they're really expecting any perfectness inside of a signature, such as that how it looks say on the papers, and knowing about yep, we got your insurance information, and then we'll go and call your name for your doctor, for the doctor to see you, and etc., etc. But on the other hand too, that knowing about with the most doctors, if you're going to be going to visit the doctors that talk about with most medical centers, so that it's like if you give you a shot, knowing about that say go in for doctors, and then say with the South Providence Road Medical talk about is like with the South Providence Road Medical Center right here. And on the other hand, one thing that also can include all as well as go ahead and use right here is the red, and then the red and then the green markers right here. But it's like ambulance is knowing about that there's I'm sure that there are several medical labs here from from Jefferson City to Columbia, and then off to if it's Warrensburg or somewhere like that that you have medical labs that are within a distance between the University Hospital, and then along with the South Providence Road Medical Lab, and a place like that that on the other hand that maybe not every medical lab is going to have everything that a patient needs to have any type of test done or anything like that. But on the other hand, that with that the medical lab, like the South Providence Road Medical Lab, that they may have a few things talk about that's normally where most doctors would be at. And if you have it to where that ambulance for emergency services, and then along with any medical needs, but as well that we may think though that really you kind of get their kids to know about. I'm like, yeah, that if you want to go to a doctor just for a checkup or to know about that how healthy you are and if you're eating right, stuff like that. And then on the other hand, that I'm like, anybody probably say, I'm like, that if you want to go ahead and download the South Providence Road medical center, the website, to your smartphone, to have like say a screensaver, kind of like this right here, to where like you have the home page right here, and any kids that if they want to go ahead and try it, and if they say that they think that they got a sore throat, or if they think that they may have a high fever, stuff like that, they may be signed on, and then they want to go ahead and get on their smartphones and actually talk about that, that they think that they need to go to the doctor because they are experiencing maybe if it's hypoxemia, or if it's anything that's related to like a sore throat or nausea or upset stomach. It's like diarrhea, you name that type of a medical concern, and from how much medicine that they're taking, and et cetera, et cetera. Like I can tell anybody here that I'm like, yeah, have you ever had pink eye? Have you ever had the chicken pox or scarlet fever or any other type of medical situation? But on the other hand, that using right here is the charcoal, and pencil right here is the details right there for the parking lot. But anyway, but you have right here is using right here is like you see with the marker right here, but you have it's like one side of the parking lot, and I can tell anybody here, especially at night, that the building looks pretty nice, especially at night when it's in construction, where the fountain would be actually glowing, and like at time I'm like where you see the lights, let's say of the fountain, it'd be glowing, and knowing about that with like say with the new medical lab, that if kids were to be like say book an appointment, and then they go ahead and log on and say what the situation is, and then I talk about the insurance, and then on the other hand that like with anybody that may say that, I'm like, yeah, wouldn't it be a kind of a dream to be able to knowing about I'll have to make my own appointment if I'm not feeling very well, any type of family emergency service, reasons is knowing about. I'm like, yeah, if is there any such thing as a website to where that you can actually go on there and actually book an appointment, yourself, or that if you're not feeling very well, if there's like say a website to where like say like a help center online, to where that you can actually go on there, and then you tell them what the symptoms are, and then they tell you about what you gotta do. Well, you make sure you drink plenty of liquids, drink orange juice, okay? Well, if you're coming down with the symptom, if it's a high fever or if it's high blood pressure reasons, okay, this is what you gotta do. Or, would you like to see your doctor? Who's your doctor? And if you have your insurance cards ready, stuff like that. And anybody who's any kids who are going to be under the age of 2 would more likely, or maybe if it's 4 or 5 years old, would probably know. I'm like, yeah, that like if between information that they may know by hand, or like talk about, I'm like, yeah, if their parents would be say that, yeah, that about the insurance cards, stuff like that. And I don't know, anybody may say about if they've ever experienced, knowing about, with most kids, with kids actually call the number themselves and telling them that they don't feel very well, and then that they may say that, I'm like, yeah, they may wind up calling the 911 service number, in case if they come up to that situation to where if there was a real medical emergency, stuff like that. But on the other hand, that knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that with kids that they tell their parents, and then from their parents, and then they go ahead and make an appointment themselves. But on the other hand, that or call assistance, something like that. But on the other hand, the way I would think about it, though, is that knowing about having your own capability to where if you want to go ahead and call a number and make an appointment, if somebody wasn't feeling very well, or something like that. And a lot of ways, I would say though that with the the cost of building this medical center right here, I'm sure was something like maybe about, you know, 14 million dollars or something like that, you know, to build it. And I'm sure they say that it's like, you know, they actually like the idea of having their own lab center, like X-ray center. And of course, they say anybody that may, if they've ever been in there, that they have like a pharmacy, and then they also have elevators that go up to, I think they're the second floor. They have like, say, two floors, elevators that go up, and then they got stairs that go up as well. But the one thing I'm just wondering, though, that knowing about, you know, like exactly about what all the medical field, knowing about, you know, what all that they have inside of this, you know, the medical, and then maybe later on, you know, any medical, you know, any medical research that I may think about, I might talk about. It's like the types of medical labs that they have inside the building, and I'm like, yeah, that. So far, knowing about, like, if you have to go there, you know, to have X-rays done or any type of test done or anything like that, and knowing about, you know, they may send you to a certain part of the building to where you have some test done or something like that. But on the other hand, that with anywhere that they send you, knowing about that if you go to the doctor, and then like me, I had my you know, tetanus shot done, and then on the other hand too, that you know, it's possible that, you know, for any other test results that I may have done there as well. And knowing about, like, yeah, that you know, I could tell anybody here that you know, go to the doctors, and then I may feel real nervous about that if they say that if you ever come down with the pneumonia, and I can tell anybody here that especially around flu season, if you ever come down with the pneumonia, that you know, I can remember at the university hospital that I can remember that, you know, going in there, and then if like, well, hopefully I don't have to stay the night, and then a lot of times that they usually say that, well, you know, that we treat you just like if you were to be at home, knowing about that there's a nurse that comes by, you know, to check up on you, and, you know, there's TV for you to watch, and basically that staying overnight in the hospital or at the medical center, I guess, is not really all that bad. But on the other hand, that knowing about that they say that you know, that if anything, that they'll just give you some medicine that you gotta take, you know, if they do find anything real serious. And then I'll want to say, especially on, you know, from the X-rays that they take, that if they find anything serious. But knowing about that with any type of you know, like anybody probably say any type of special effects that I add, like say for the billing, though, knowing about, like, yeah, that what our special effects is basically that you know, stuff that you actually see that was not there before, that they actually see, you know, the type of creative, artistic, you know, after effects it is. But knowing about, you know, the type of work that I show right here is basically the details I went ahead and add right here is like for the building, and with the building that represent, you know, for like I say for what I think, you know, it's like for the building, though, that with that, you know, anybody that by saying by having access, you know, to your own capability to where if you want to book an appointment, or if it's like that the building now has access to their own labs, and of course their test centers, you know, stuff like that. And but, you know, like with me, though, with being studying in graphic designing, as I could probably say that the types of details that I would probably say to be able to picture in my mind, I'm knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that you know, after, you know, since the building is finished, and what do you think that more likely that you may expect to see maybe in the background, such as if there's going to be, say, maybe trees, you know, maybe some, you know, new trees sprouting back up, and then if there is anything that's related to you know, anything you know, spring, you know, spring bushes, you know, any, you know, flower gardens or anything like that in the back, or, you know, something like that. But on the other hand, too, the way I think about with the new medical center, knowing about that is like, yes, for the South Providence Road medical lab, of knowing about, like, yeah, that they got a new lab, you know, for patients, you know, to go there and, you know, to see the doctor, and, you know, it's like, you know, for living, you know, to, you know, stay healthy and you know, to live well, and knowing about my talk about, say, for, you know, South Providence Road medical labs, they talk and say with the color activity. Well, hello everyone. I talk about it's like, you know, for South Providence Road Medical Lab. It's basically talk about right here. If you know, any of us, you know, have ever been to that location, is that, you know, basically knowing about, you know, that, you know, maybe the easiest and best ways of knowing about, you know, how to live and stay healthy it is that whenever we go to a doctor, a lot of times we may say, though, that a lot of times going to a doctor, that, you know, how easy it is really to go to the go see a doctor, and then of course book an appointment. And a lot of knowing about is like they like with anybody probably say, but with most kids, knowing about whenever they go to a doctor, a lot of times that they may say that they don't feel very well, or maybe they get sick, or anything that's going to say what you call is like for anything that's embarrassing, such as that you go to the doctor, and then all of a sudden that maybe that you start sneezing, blowing your nose, whichever it is, and like talking about talking like you got something caught on the back of your throat, But other than that, like talk about right here, any reason knowing about you go to the doctor, and then you may not look, you may be like for say got a little bit of sunburn on the head, and like your hair is kind of waving all around, stuff like that. But on the hand too, that knowing about that if you go to a doctor, knowing about that really that the whole part about it is like it's at least it's like for the whole part about is like the medical part, like talk about that you make an appointment, and then you show up for your appointment, and then you say make sure that you have your insurance cards, like with anybody that may say about like with your insurance that talking about that with most insurances knowing about that you go and book an appointment, and then the next thing you know, you may wonder about like that something about that has to be updated on your information. And we probably say that knowing about like that if there's a right or wrong say reason for about why you can't go see your doctor, it is because maybe your insurance is not updated or anything like that. But on the hand too, that knowing about like that you go to a doctor, and then for whatever information that they tell you, knowing about like that you have an appointment, and then that like for what they tell you if you got to take your medicine, stuff like that. But anything that more likely they could be worked out, say so far for on your own, or like knowing about that for any doctors that are there that more likely are willing to help you. It's like for with the medical reason. But basically talk about is that for how we booked the appointments, though, of knowing about like for what all that we need to do just to keep the appointments, is knowing about like anybody probably say like, well, if maybe if you like to draw out for what you see, or knowing about say from the latest test results, and knowing about talk to say for South Providence Road Medical Lab, talk safety, talk safe with the color activity.